Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kyle and this is Stitching and Sound, where we talk about cross-stitch and some other stuff and whatnot, and I kind of swear a lot, so if that's off-putting, please don't watch. Because I don't want any comments being like, oh, you have a potty mouth. It's like, I know, that's why I said it at the beginning of the video, so you don't have to, tell me. So, I'm very winded right now because I, just got done filing my taxes, and it was the first time I've ever done it by myself, and I was super nervous. Because I just didn't want to mess anything up. I was very, I had to call my rentals a couple of times, be like, hey, am I doing this right? And then just, I did not need that type of stress today. So what's been new with me? Did not get that job. Did I already know I didn't get that job last week's video? I don't remember. Time is such a blur anymore. Except I wish that the days that I was at my job were a blur so I could come home and just not remember being there. Somebody told me to take like Xanax with a couple of shots of vodka, and I don't want to do that. The idea sounds nice though, just to be blacked out the entire day and then just start remembering, when I come home. I mean, that'd be great, so I wouldn't have to... Deep breaths. I hope everybody has had a wonderful week. Yes, I am here very early. This is the first time in a long time I've had 2 floss tubes within a week. Okay. This is going to be a short video, I hope, because I don't got time for this today. Except I do, I just have to do other stuff, because I'm in the process of doing another application for another job. And if I don't get that job, I just... I don't know. I hate money. I hate loans. I hate the fact that everything is just so stressful. I hate the fact that we're moving in a week, even though it was supposed to be in May. I have nothing packed. I don't want to pack anything. I hate moving. I just, Okay. I'm good. Okay, so... just very tired today. Okay, let's jump right into it. What have I been listening to? The last week I've been listening to my second favorite band a lot. And that band is Heart, Anna Nancy Wilson, now part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as of 6 years ago. They were inducted the same year as my favorite band, Rush. That's so cool. I had my top 2 favorite bands inducted the same year. Okay, so I've been listening to them a lot because late last month, they announced that they were ending their 3-year hiatus and going back on the road, which is just great. That I won't get into details of what the hiatus was about, but because I don't want them to eventually find me and be like, "Hey, you said this on your channel," and I'm like, "Okay." I've seen Heart twice in concert. They were actually my first concert. They were opening for Lynyrd Skynyrd. I did not go for Lynyrd Skynyrd because I cannot, stand Lynyrd Skynyrd. But I was front row. So to be front row to see my favorite band perform, that was pretty awesome. That was really awesome. Then I saw them again about 2.5 years later. I think they were performing at the iWireless Center. Oh my god. And Joan Jett opened for them. That is by far my favorite concert. I was really kind of nervous because I had watched live Joan Jett videos like recently, and like she wasn't, I don't know, just didn't, sound right. In concert, oh my god, just totally different. That was amazing. And then Heart that night performed 2 songs I didn't expect. They performed probably, one of my favorite songs, If Looks Could Kill. They had not performed that song in almost 30 years by that point, so I was, crapping my pants a little bit. And then after they went on hiatus, I saw Ann Wilson's live show, live solo performance. She performed here at Cedar Falls, oh my god, almost 2 years ago. I can't believe time has passed so quickly. That's the same year I saw Pat Benatar. If you can't tell, I was born in the wrong decade. But I'm really glad that they're back together. And it's just weird seeing them going on tour and none of their spots are in Iowa, because it seems like they always came to Iowa at least once or twice. Anyway, I'm happy they're back. Choice songs for them. Mistral Wind is my favorite heart song from their Dog and Butterfly album. Crazy on You, everybody knows that song. Barracuda, everybody knows that song. Let's see. Their Dreamboat Annie album is one of my top 5 favorite albums of all time. That album holds a special place in my heart. It's a very, very well done album. Yeah, so go check it out. Go check them out. One of their recent albums, even though it's almost a decade old by this point, Red Velvet Car, very good album. More acoustic, but also very good. Very good. Okay, moving on. We've got like a lot of March birthdays today. This month. And these are just the 4 that I have written down. I'm sure that there's more Flosstubers that I just don't know about that have March birthdays. Okay, so first up, Julie Gulf Coast Stitches, her daughter Sarah, just had her birthday the other day. Happy late birthday, Sarah. Jen Upton just had her birthday yesterday, I think. Or was it Wednesday? It was yesterday. So happy late birthday, Jen. Michelle Bendy Stitchy's birthday is on the 10th, which is... Or is it the 9th? What's today? I don't know. A lot of things are happening. I'm sweating right now. The 10th. I think that's a Sunday. Yes. So more on her birthday in a bit. So happy early birthday, Michelle. And then Jan Hicks's birthday is coming up next week. Now, I don't remember if her birthday is next Monday or if it's at the end of the week, but I'm really excited because she is doing like 10 new starts for her birthday, and she's putting out 2 Stitch With Me's every day next week, and I'm very, very excited for those. Happy birthday, everyone. Okay. What are we at? 7 minutes? Oh yeah, this is gonna boom. We're gonna do this. It's gonna be quick, y'all. See, when I don't have a month between my videos, I have less to show. Okay. So I've got some haul. First up, I think this is my first Butternut Road design. But it's by Marilyn Leavitt. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. It's hyphenated. But, you know, she's the designer for Told in the Garden, Butternut Road, and Lavender and Lace. Well, this is my first Butternut Road. I think I saw this on a stash group and didn't claim it. Somebody else had claimed it, but I'm like, I need to go find that one because I really like it. This one is Once Upon a Time. I don't know if it's called that because she's telling the dove a story, or I don't know. Is it focusing? I can't really tell. I'm at a bad angle. Don't know when I'll get to that one, but I really like it. I think the Butternut Road... No. It's either the Butternut Road or Told in the Garden ones that are more... I don't want to say Quaker-esque, but there's a lot of samplers and stuff that she did for one of those. I don't know. I'm more into Nora. I'm sorry. So there's that. I really like that one. We'll get to her eventually. And then... So everybody has been talking about the Owl Forest embroidery stuff on 1884 Stitchery, McKenna. We all love her, and if you don't love her, you better get to learning to love her, because she ain't going away, and I hope she never goes away, and I still want her candy bra. Okay, so on 1884 Stitchery, she's now becoming like the only American distributor for the Owl Forest embroidery patterns. Now, when I bought this, I thought it was a kit, and I was like, wow, that's really cheap for a kit. It totally wasn't a kit, it was just the chart, but I'm so glad I have it. This one was called, I think it was Birds of Happiness on her website, and I immediately thought of Letitia because you know, peacocks everywhere. I mean, just so much cock happening in there. Peacock happening in there. And then just some random birds going on. I really, and I took a look at the chart, and it's very, yes, it's all in color for the most part, I think. Or am I just, yeah, it is. Okay. This one's nice, only 5 colors. Sorry, I'm just looking at it. Another one I was looking at, I really didn't want the whale. I'm sorry, I'm not a whale person, so I wasn't big on the whales. But I'm a huge pomegranate person. Don't know why. But, so that pomegranate sampler might be my next one, because hashtag pomegranates everywhere. Okay. Then finally, my last bit of haul, the one that I was most excited about because I pre-ordered it literally the day that it was available. No, not even the day, probably the hour that it was available to be pre-ordered. From Hands Across the Sea Samplers, when Nicola, put up that video a couple of weeks ago showing all of the new Nashville market releases, this was the one. I mean, this was the one. She showed it. She showed the actual sampler or the whatever. Gigantic. She's huge. I needed her immediately. I wanted to just get all up in her. And so I got me Elizabeth Weston, 1830. I mean, look at it. What is her finished size here? Now, if I remember correctly, she was stitched by Sandra Brown, and I believe the model was stitched on 40 count, which ends up being about 21 inches by, I'm going to move this bookmark out of the way, 21 inches by 22 inches, roughly. You want to think Michelle Bendy does the only crazy shit with Hands Across the Sea samplers? I want to stitch this on 28 count, which would translate to roughly 31 inches by 32 inches. That's a huge bitch. And, you know, when am I going to get around to this one? I don't know. But that's the plan. We're going hardcore. We're making her much bigger than what she is already. We're going to have fun. That's it for haul, which I feel like is even a little bit too much for 1 week. But, you know, what can you do? I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Okay. Whips. I've only had one whip, as you all know. And I was not going to stop working on this whip until I finished all of the stitching. Most of the stitching. 95% of the stitching. If you did not see my post on Instagram last night, you better go, because Jesus tap dancing Christ, I don't know what I did. Maybe it's because I used all the hashtags. That thing's up to 1,500 likes, and I just don't understand why. But, well, maybe I do, because she's really beautiful. But this is Mirabilia, design number 3, out of print, Fairy Moon. Just look at her. Just, I mean, the amount of evens that I can't right now. She took much longer to get through than I thought, mainly because a couple of days I just did not want to stitch, so I didn't. But the monotony of this part of her dress, just no. And then, like, I don't know if you remember from last week, but there was a bunch of, like, addition signs in the middle of her dress that needed to be filled in, except for the part where the bead goes. That took, no. And she has a foot, y'all. She's got a foot. Now, it's not a complete foot, because there's about 5 beads that go right on top of that foot. But she's got that foot. I'm not a foot person. I don't have a foot fetish, but it's been about a month and a half that I realized she had a foot. Thank you, Stitch and Joanne. I'm still mind blown every time. And once again, what is this? What is this? Okay, she's got a shawl here. This is her dress. What is this? And if you think about it, this doesn't even remotely make sense because she's got wings, yet her shawl here looks like it's completely wrapped around her, but the wings are appearing as if behind the shawl. So physically, this can't work. But since she's a fairy, I guess I'm going to let it slide because they're magical and stuff or whatever. Just love her dearly. Skin is 1/1. I love her face. Now, I don't know what it is, but I feel like every time I see other people's fairy moons, their face looks different than mine. Not just because of the 1/1, but I don't know, like... I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. Oh, and I did have a neat back until I had to fill in those addition signs, and then you started getting all this action going on. And I was talking with my friend Lori when I was doing all the half stitches down here. And I'm just like, there is no way in hell you can have a neat back doing all of those half stitches. I mean, okay, but look at that. Just because of how scattered and isolated some of them are, there's no way you can have a neat back doing half stitches because you've got a half stitch way over there that's not even next to others. And it's like, how? So if we could get a hold of the original Fairy Moon model so that I can look at the back of it and prove that neat backs are, just pointless and shit, that'd be great. Because, yes. I'm so, love her dearly. But I'm so glad to be moving on to something else for a while. Beading is next, minus a couple of scattered stitches here and there. I know part of the moon is stitched, and there's little, looks like little moons everywhere else that are stitches. I don't care. I just wanted to finish stitching her. That's all I care about. And that's what I did. Okay. So there's that. Okay. Now, on to plans. I'm going to be joining a SAL for the next 3 days because Michelle BendyStitchy, whom we all love, is having a birthday SAL for the next 3 days, starting today. Today is stitch something related to the letter B. Tomorrow is stitch something that relates to the letter S. And then on her birthday is stitch something that either reminds you of Michelle BendyStitchy or something that reminds you of Stitchy Kindness, because she's all about Stitchy Kindness. So after some chewing, I think I figured out what I'm doing. Michelle, this is for you. Okay, so for day number 1, something that's related to a B. Now, the project doesn't have to be start with a B, but it's got to have like an element of the letter B in it. So like if you're doing beading or you're stitching with the color blue or whatever else she gives. I'm going to be stitching for today, because I've also missed this one, castor bean, because if you look at her hair, she's got a lot of balls going on, or bean. Somebody would call me when I'm trying to make funny jokes. God. Okay, so for today, I'm going to be stitching on castor bean because of the beans in her hair, which I've been working on. I've not touched her in a while, but this is where we are with castor bean, so I'm hoping to fill in more of the beans today. Start working on the other side. And yeah, so yeah. there's for March 8th. Tomorrow, stitch something with an S or related to S. Okay, I'm going to be stitching on a sampler, the Hannah Sanderson sampler. Now, originally, I was going to use this for today's date because there's a giant butterfly in the middle of this sampler, and coincidentally enough, that's where I am in this sampler. I am going to be working, I've got her right here. Oh, it's been a while since I've unraveled her. I love her. So I'm going basically page by page, be right here, and I'm going to be working on, there's a giant flower right here, and then the butterfly. Ooh, my favorite part about that page, there's no border. So, but, you know, but then I realized my next, I wanted to do a sampler for the S, and I didn't want to work on both Hannah Sanderson and like Harriet Hartland in a row. So I'm using sampler for my S day. And then finally, Stitchy Kindness. This is one I have not, because I don't have anything related to Michelle Bendy's stitching. I don't have anything that, I'm not stitching any donuts or yoga things, so unfortunately, I have to go with the Stitchy Kindness part. I had to think about this, and if I had any whips that were gifted to me, and I probably do, but I didn't think of one at the time. However, after careful consideration, this is one I have had put away because 123 Stitch sent me the wrong fabric size, and I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to fit all of it on this fabric anymore. But the one I am talking about is, this was my unicorn, my very first unicorn, that was gifted to me by a wonderful person. They know who they are. This is Mirabilia number 5, Sleeping Beauty. This was gifted to me, and just an awesome thing of Stitchy Kindness. That's how far I was the last time I worked on it. And I'm pretty sure I have enough room to fit the entire thing. But if I do, it's gonna be coming right up to the edge. I need to actually sit down on Sunday with, you know, a piece of thread and something else to sort of grid out from a spot on the design to make sure I am going to have enough. But, because I don't want to restart this. So if I have enough, I think what even Bendy Stitchy and some others on some of my Facebook groups said, just sew on some muslin, or is that how you pronounce that? Isn't that stuff to get out the mucus in your chest? Something like that. And sew that onto the sides for framing, because I had an idea of how I wanted to frame Sleeping Beauty, but I just, now I don't know with the fabric size, and she's all bent up and stuff, and I don't, okay. Alright, so there's that. Day 3. Happy birthday, Michelle Bendy. We all love you. We all know you. We all want to sit down with a cup of coffee and stitch with you on a Sunday at Panera with you. That was weird. Okay. So that's that. Now, as of last week, I was not up to 1,500 subscribers. However, since last week, we have now reached, and I say we, because this wouldn't be without you, all of you. We have now surpassed 1,500, and I think we're close to 1,600 now. So, as promised from last week, my 1,500, and I plan on giving out an out-of-print Mirabilia every 500 subscriber milestone. Giveaway for 1,500 people, 1,500 subscribers, 1,500 beautiful people. Mirabilia number 4, Garden Verses. I am going to, if you did not watch last week's video, at least I think it was last week's where I announced that this was my giveaway, the chart has been well loved. There's no envelope to it. Everything is still legible. I mean, there's no creases in the chart that make any of the symbols unreadable by any means. And all they did was that they marked... I'm going to try to show you without showing the whole... if I could frickin' fold this thing, Jesus, tap dancing Christ. Okay. As you can see, they kind of X'd it out with pencil. But other than that, you know, they just marked where they were with pencil, so that's easily erasable. And like I said, where the folds are in the chart, there's no crease marks that make any symbols unreadable. So if you got a good eraser, there you go. Doesn't smell like cigarette smoke, so we're good. But that's the giveaway. Like I said, no envelope, well-loved, pencil mark, so easily erasable. Garden Verses, Mirabilia, number 4, out of print. How do you enter? Well, my family, let me tell you how to enter for Garden Verses. Ooh, by the way, whoever wins this, she's my new Mirabilia start for next year. So, planned, anyway. I was kind of talking with my friend Mindy. I might do something else as far as deciding what my Mirabilia start next year is going to be. But, how do you enter? Let me tell you. Number 1, do not use giveaway. Do not say the word giveaway in your comment. I will delete. Okay. Number 2, you have to say the phrase, I want to stitch Garden Verses. Or I would like to stitch Garden Verses, or something to that effect, letting me know that you want to stitch Garden Verses. And then, yes, and then, because I'm making you work for it, y'all. If you want it that badly. The third and final thing you've got to tell me is, because, you know, Garden Verses, she's writing. What has been your favorite book that you've ever read, and why? The and why is important. If you tell me you want to stitch Garden Verses and you just tell me your favorite book, but don't tell me why, ooh, no, sorry, you're not entered. You got to tell me why. Now, if you want to tell me your favorite book and why, but don't want to stitch Garden Verses, just don't say I want to stitch Garden Verses. Okay? I hope all of that is clear. And when does it end? It will end whenever I get up my next Flosstube. I plan on recording a stitch with me tonight because I will not have a Flosstube next week because I'm going to be moving next week. So, I will decide, you know, I will put a comment in the video, I will put a post on YouTube saying, you know, entries are closed, all that stuff we'll be drawing later. I will literally draw it the morning of whenever I record my next Flosstube video. Okay? I hope that all makes sense. This was a quickie, but, you know, sometimes we just need a quickie, and that's okay. That's all I think I got. I love you all dearly. I'm gonna go take a Midol, I think, because I'm just all over the place, and happy birthday to all I have mentioned. All, you know, anybody that I didn't mention whose birthday is this month. God bless America. You know, you take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have the facts of life. The facts of life. Sit, boo-boo, sit. Good dog. All right. So keep being amazing. Let those fucks fly. And say no to acid. Okay. Love you all. Bye-bye.